All right, hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to be filming some self-defense techniques for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oh my gosh, self-defense is becoming a lost art in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's so important. And there's a couple of reasons why people don't do the self-defense stuff as much. So one of the things is you've got a lot of the guys in the tournaments right now, no offense to tournament or competitors, but you see a lot of people are just like two super strong dudes using a whole bunch of HGH, trying to crush each other with no intention of ever using martial arts for self-defense. Is that you guys? HGH, yeah, I heard you guys talking back there. Now, so that's one thing that we get to, and sometimes I wonder if there's certain Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people, like even going all the way to like purple, brown, black belt, and maybe if they got in a real self-defense situation, they might not even be able to know how to fight, because a lot of the times it's like high five, fist bump, and right to your back playing the half guard or something. And so the self-defense is really important. It's also really important to show inside our martial arts schools. And the reason for that is it helps to retain students. When students walk into jiu-jitsu for the first time, self-defense can resonate with them. It makes sense for them, where at the same time, you know, their first class and they're learning upside down De La Riva guard, it might not make any sense. And they're like, what is this? But the self-defense does make sense. I want to go over some self-defense things that I've actually used in jiu-jitsu, whether it be in competitions a long time ago or just on the mat with my students or my friends rolling, okay? The first thing we're going to go over is some traditional outside and inside wrist locks, and I'm going to show you guys kind of how I learned them. So, Mike, let's borrow you first. So I don't have my gi on, I just got my shirt on, right? It's self-defense, I probably wouldn't have a gi, right? He grabs my shirt or my gi, and I'm going to grab my shirt or my gi or my material, and I'm going to bring it out of his hand. So I'm going to pull this out like this and apply the outside wrist lock. Or he grabbed my shirt or my uniform, I come here and I go over the top this way and apply the inside wrist lock, okay? That's one way I learned the move. Another way I learned it is a person punches at me and I block the punch and then I come here and do the takedown. Now, both of those are kind of wrong ways to do self-defense, but I was able to learn a lot doing it that way. I'm gonna have you guys demonstrate that real quick on each other, okay? So these guys have the gis on, so here we go. Pastor Chris, he's grabbing Mike here. So there you go, Mike, you grab the gi, turn over, and there's the inside wrist lock. Not going over a lot of details on that, but I think a lot of the people that are watching this already know these moves. Outside wrist lock, you'll grab here, you'll grab your own gi, pull the arm out, boom, and then you go for the outside wrist lock. Okay, so thank you guys. We've done that a lot in our classes recently. Now, I've never in my life been able to catch a punch in midair to do an outside wrist lock. So Mike, if you want to come over here. So Mike throws a punch at me. I've never been able to block and then here, because people retract their punches and it's like impossible. So punch me and retract your punch. Oh, try to get, oh, my jiu-jitsu keeps failing, right? Now, there is something to be said to go ahead and punch, block and crowding him, and then going in for the takedown. That could definitely possibly work. Definitely possibly. Definitely possibly work.
Guaranteed.
Okay, now, real life self-defense, using the outside or inside wrist lock. Well, won't always make sense from a gi grab, because let's say you guys are together. Okay, so when you get, so now we have here Pastor Chris, the pastor of pain. Pastor Chris is grabbing Mike's gi, okay? It actually makes no sense right now for Mike here to even remove his arm to do a wrist lock. The reason it makes no sense is because this grab does not hurt Mike in any way. Grab as hard as you can. Does it hurt?
It's terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. So this doesn't hurt him at all, right? So to attempt a wrist lock doesn't always make sense. The nice thing about somebody grabbing you is that at this point, he cannot attack with this arm. And if Mike is a jiu-jitsu guy, which he is, and his opponent grabbed him, he's already established the clinch. It makes it easier to do throws and takedowns and self-defense. Okay, so that doesn't always make sense. Okay, Mike, I'm going to have you step out of the camera for a second. Now I'm going to use Pastor Chris. This is what makes absolute sense. The person grabs the back of my head. He's here, whether it be one grab like this, like a wrestling tie-up, or it's a tie clinch with both hands. Either way, that's bad news for me. I don't want to have someone with their hand on the back of my head pulling my head down, okay? That's where I'm going to be getting kneed. They're going to be shooting takedowns. This is where you have to remove the grip, and the wrist locks are right in place. So if you grab here, all I have to do is turn my head to the outside, and there's his hand here. My thumbs go on the knuckles. I can put pressure on his elbow. If he bends his arm to relieve that pressure, I'm right back to the wrist lock. Okay, again. And you know what? We're not going to throw each other the whole time today, and that's something that I want to mention to you guys, my first jiu-jitsu instructor was a Japanese jiu-jitsu instructor, and he would apply wrist locks, and you know, people would be like, ah, and take you down and slam you. Like, you don't have to do that to everybody in class. You know, obviously we know the mechanics of the move. That's all you need to do. You don't need to smash each other. Okay, so here we go. Well, let's use this side for the camera angle. I'm here, look at how I move my head, and then right to the wrist lock. Now I have used that, not in self-defense, but I have used that in actual jiu-jitsu, not competitions, but you know, training with my students and with friends on the mat, possibly a jiu-jitsu competition, I don't remember. But that's a way that we can make the outside wrist lock very practical. Now in my classes right now, this month, we're going over a couple self-defense moves, and the ones that we're doing are your opponent takes your back, and then you apply the standing Kimura lock. Okay, so these are things we're going over right now in my martial arts academy. So the first one, let's say I have my opponent here in a guillotine choke. Okay, so I'm throwing the guillotine choke on him. Little tip on the guillotine is if I put my tricep right on the top of his head here, he can't look up. Try to look up, and I can choke him. But if my arm is draped over a little bit, he can look up, and now he can go to my back. Oh, we'll turn the other way. You want inside? So now I'm here like this. He can look up, and he can go right to my back. Oh, there we go, just like that. Okay, let's see that the whole guillotine escape, because this is also a self-defense technique. So if I'm here, if he takes this hand and pulls me down, it's really hard for me to lift myself up to make the choke. So while he's pulling me down, he now takes his left hand, he catches my wrist to relieve some pressure, he looks up at the ceiling, and he goes to my back. Right when he hits my back, I'm going to take my hands here, I'm going to break this grip. I don't think you can see my feet on the camera, but I'm hooking his leg so that he can't suplex me backwards. I catch his wrist in my own wrist, and I make the standing Kimura lock. There we go, standing Kimura lock. Now, the back take can also come from a failed headlock steal. So if I'm trying to make a headlock on my opponent here, so I've got Chris here in a headlock. As I've got him in a headlock whirler, I'm trying to do a hip toss, I'm trying to do a sag headlock throw, drop to my knees to throw him, or I just have him in the bully headlock. It doesn't matter. He can pull his head out real easily. He hits my back, and then right away, I'm back to the standing Kimura lock. Let's see that from a little different angle. I'll have you come right over here. Okay. There you go. Escape your head. Takes my back. Standing Kimura lock. Now, if you feel like, well, this stuff, it never really works, go back and watch Pride when Sakuraba was fighting, and he defeated, and I don't remember which one it was. It might have been Hoist Gracie. He gave me my blue belt in jiu-jitsu many, many years ago. I think Sakuraba beat Hoist or Henzo Hoyler, one of the Gracies, with this move. If a guy can beat a Gracie, one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world, with a standing Kimura lock, you could definitely do a standing Kimura lock on somebody in a street fight that doesn't know jiu-jitsu. One other technique I want to do is what's happened with my students as I'm showing this move is sometimes they end up grabbing underneath the arms, or I'm sorry, over the top of the arms instead of underneath them. So let's say let's do this one. Ready? So look up at the ceiling. Boom, you come to my back. And then I've had students are getting here. Here, let's turn the camera a little bit. Here, where my arms are trapped. So go ahead and trap both my arms. So from here, I can't do the Kimura lock. See, my arms are stuck. So in this situation, I'm gonna bend my knees, like make a horse stance, and I'm gonna reach down and grab his leg and lift his leg up to make him fall. You good for that? Can I throw you like that? I'm ready. Okay, so if I'm here like this, I reach down, I grab his leg, and I lift his leg and make him fall. Boom. Shout out to my student Josh. I have a student named Josh. He trained with me like 15 years ago or so, and he actually used that technique. I can't remember if it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but he used that technique in actual real-life combat when someone came up behind him, and he was able to take the person down, and he said that jiu-jitsu saved his life at that point. So these self-defense techniques can work. They're really important to implement into your martial arts system, and of course we have hundreds of self-defense moves. but those are the ones that I'm going over in my class right now. Okay, thanks guys.